Hey, there we are, and good evening, everyone. How's it going? All right, so we are at it one more time tonight. I've got a couple more tea lights to finish up for the craft show, and I just have to keep working. Things have been a little crazy, not gonna lie. So I'm trying to get back into the swing of it today. Make sure I keep moving forward. So as I've explained kind of before, I do want to make sure for my show that I do have a couple of duplicates or even triplicates of some of the tea lights that I'm doing. And this is the Cherry Merlot in gold. I'm just cleaning up my paint here so I can get it in my palette. So again, I'm only using 3 colors for this one. This one is the Folk Art. This is the Cinder Rose, Champagne Gold, and the Buttermilk. The Buttermilk I don't use a whole lot in this one. Okay, but let's get the other ones on my palette here. For these ones, again, I am not adding a medium at all. This one's just straight. There. And for my tools, my Happy Dotting Company tools are off to my side over here. I have everything up to a 6. Okay. I'm not using anything larger than a 6 tonight in the palette. Let's see what we got going on. Let's see, I do believe. Now, I didn't exactly write down a template for this one, but I do mostly remember what I was using. I'm gonna scooch out just a bit here. That's better. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in, and I'm gonna start with a 2. A Happy Dotting Company 2, and we're gonna do 2 rings around the center. Okay. This is not always the most exciting part, so forgive me for that much, but this double ring of the champagne gold right around the center, I really like. After this 2 is done, I'm going to go into a 3 for the next row. I feel like the second one, I might have gotten a little bit better coverage of the base coat of that Cherry Merlot than I did on the other one. It feels like it's just a tiny bit darker on the background, which I do like. Most all of the other tea lights, actually no, I take that back, all of the other tea lights, I've managed to get all of those cleaned up, finished, and packed away. got them all wrapped up and ready to go, which I like, which, you know, making sure that I'm ready, but at the same time, I sort of wish, because I've got a couple more to do in duplicate here, that I had kept some of them out to use as a reference. Because now I do have all my pictures and my videos, but I think it just would have been nice to have them out as a reference, but I'm okay. That's one of the cool things too about doing handmade items, right? Not every single one of them has to be identical. But I never know what people are gonna do, because someone might pick it up and be like, oh, you know what, I need 2 of these. You know, I want one on each of my tables, right? I want one on each end table, or I want to have, you know, 2 of them sitting on my dining room table. That was one of the things that I made the previous one for. I specifically made 2 of them at once because they were meant for kind of a fall centerpiece. Maybe Thanksgiving dinner's coming up, you know, and most folks over here have, you know, these really typical, almost kind of cliche long tables, right? For all the family. And I thought, wouldn't that be nice to at least make sure that I had a set right off the bat in case somebody wanted that for truly a centerpiece, something on the table. So and I've picked my favorites to do the duplicates of. And yeah, that's totally biased. But I did also kind of go by the polls that I was running on the community tab. And the monochrome, the black and white one, I got the most feedback on that one, as well as the blue one. The blue, silver, and white. So I did go ahead and do another blue, silver, and white one, as well as I did that same exact pattern, but just in a slightly different color. I actually did the other one in, what was it, mermaid tail? Kind of a dark teal. And fuchsia or magenta. Hopefully they will catch someone's eye. It's always nice to kind of do things in more than one color. But that was another part of my, I don't want to say complaint on that, but I'm going to be doing commissions. I'm going to open myself up to commissions during the show as well. And so I wanted to also try to get a number of the same items just in different color palettes, just to kind of give people an idea of what I've got and what I've already made, what I could make for them. To that point also, I've taken photos of basically everything that I'm going to be taking to the show with me. And I created a photo album, kind of a scrapbook, with all of them in there. And then I labeled them and have, I'm going to have that out for commissions. So. All right, I need to get a quick drink here. Now, I don't know how many people will be able to catch this. Mostly I'm going to assume that people will catch this after the fact. After I've streamed here. But what I do plan on doing I have been making notes, not only for myself really, but also to make a little video about all of my progress and all of the stuff that I've had to do for this craft show. So, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot more than I initially anticipated that it was going to be. And I figured that kind of recording my journey on it would help somebody else. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at the reference because I think I had started my swishes way out here, which seems awfully far away, but that's what I did. I do really have, yeah, okay. Alrighty. Okay, let's get that. All right, now like I said, I'm using the largest tool size of a 6. So this is a 6. Tilt that just a little. I never have enough paint on my tools for the first one, but I do for the consecutive ones after. So I always end up dipping my little swoosh, my stylus here. Okay. And I kind of do just want to go through these relatively quickly, but I always get myself in a nice slow mindset when I do it because no matter if I'm recording or streaming or not, this painting is definitely something that helps me calm down at the end of a busy day. And today was no exception. All right. So if you are watching this one and you're following along, or if you're still learning, I can kind of take a moment here on this next swoosh and explain really what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So make sure that your dot, you have quite a lot of paint on the dot. It is pretty heavy. I'm going to guess that someone maybe that happens upon this later and is going to watch this more kind of as a tutorial. You're probably familiar enough with swooshes, but just in case, make sure that you don't wipe off your tool between each dot. I'm taking whatever sharp end tool that you decide to use, and I'm going to take the tool all the way from the top, drag it through the dot, and pull it down. Now, I am actually touching the surface, okay, but just very gently. And I personally usually do this kind of not with the tip straight up and down, but rather sideways, just because I am moving paint. Okay, that's all I'm doing. All right, I'm using my stylus like a pencil, kind of holding it like a pencil and sort of drawing like a pencil. Ugh, this bow card. So all the way from the top, pull it down. Now when you pull it through, I'm doing the outline, so I'm catching, so the midline of the dot going on the left side and then the right, and then I'm just pulling this towards the end. Okay. Now, if you don't have enough paint on your tool or tools, then when you do this, no matter how light you are, you may still see streaks, right? And I'll get those usually the first couple dots. Actually, I can show you. This one actually has a little bit of a line here that I didn't catch right away. So see right here, if you can actually see where I've kind of drawn through the paint. Okay, that just essentially is that there's just not enough for you to have moved. Okay, so I just went back in with the tool, as you see there, and just kind of dabbed over the top. Okay. And then whatever strokes I make, I always try to make them full strokes. So instead of just going here and like do these little tiny motions, I try to make full long motions. I find that that helps make sure that you don't have any of those kind of weird gaps. And then especially once you start getting into the other kinds of swooshes, or you're doing something else with pulling the lines, then you're not getting kind of weird, funky looking, chunky things. Because if you start pulling at the tip, like down here, let's just say that I pulled this, I'll show you what I mean. Get another dot in here. Okay. So if you start pulling here and you're like, oh, I kind of ran out of paint, and then if you pick it up and you grab it from here, you don't get that nice tip and that nice point, especially when you're doing it one-tooled. So it's easier just to pull from this here and then all the way down. Okay. And the folk art paint that I'm using for this one is just a little thicker than the decor, but I did not add a medium to it today. I don't find that it's that thick that I have to worry about it, but you definitely do see the difference when I drop the dots on there. Sometimes it's actually even almost a little stringy, so sort of want to be careful of that too. But I just wanted to leave the paint as is. I don't need anything added to it. Okay. All right, let's fill in that little gap here. Okay, last one. Make sure I've got a good spot for my finger. Now I do see in some spots the guidelines have smeared and smudged a little bit because I do have my other hand on them. I use charcoal pencil And so I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not gonna cause any issues. And the charcoal pencil, once everything is done here, comes off very, very easily with just a little bit of water. I usually just take a damp cloth and just wipe the whole thing down once I'm done. And it's dried for like a day. All right. This line wants to be difficult now. There, okay. All right. Okay, let me get my tool cleaned off. So I'm going to go into the 3. For the next part, we're actually going to use the buttermilk. There's only 3 dots, I guess, essentially where I use the buttermilk. So I'm just going to start with 1 dot on the top. All right, let me move this a little bit. Set that up a little bit, and hopefully that helps your view so you can see that okay. All right, now I'm going to switch to a 2.5. Because these are such long walked dots that I'm going to be making, that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay. That's why I'm not picking up one tool and just immediately going down to make the walk dots. I'm going to use several tools. And like I said, because it's such a long swoosh and such a long line, if you were to pick this up, especially with the sizes that I'm using, I'm only using a 2.5 here. If I were to try to bring that down, I would either end up with big spaces between the dots going down, because, you know, trying to make it fit, you have the tendency to space your dots out more, just to try to get to the bottom. Or if you didn't, you wouldn't make it far enough and you would have very, very tiny dots that probably end midway down. Neither of those things is what I want. So I'm going to try to avoid either of those just by using 2 tools. Yeah, maybe 3, actually. I'll take it back. I think it's going to be 3. Okay, so 2.5. I'm going to drop into a 2. Okay. And I think you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to put in 2 dots. Make sure I'm actually turning the stone instead of the Lazy Susan. Once we get these done, we'll drop down into a 1.5. Oops. Try not to get my hand in it now. A little bit of a dot, didn't I? Make sure to fix that. Okay. So we did a 3, 2.5, a 2, and now, let's see, I think what I'm going to do, yeah, okay. Again, it's long. I'm going to make sure that I have enough dots of a large enough size to get all the way down without having to use like massive dots to begin with, right? I don't want this all filled up with like size 5 because that would work. That would just be too large. So this is a 1.5. So I'm just going to make actually a couple of dots of the same size here in the middle, so that we make it. One's a little small. Correct that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go back into the 1.5, wipe off my tool first here real quick. Go back into the 1.5 and then let's go down. Let's see here. There. Like that. Then as you can see, sometimes I do run the risk that these dots here are not exactly the right size. So I'm just going back in and fixing that if that is the case. There. Make sure that looks really nice all the way down. Oops. This is the one I must have stuck my finger in earlier. I'm going to stop and wipe off my tool. Even though normally you don't really want to do that too often when you're doing walked dots. I am right now because especially with this here, I want to keep that size pretty consistent without constantly having to go back. Might have even just stayed at 2. Almost there. Then we're going to get in some more gold on this one. Okay, now this one I do believe was a 3, so we want to go up to a 4. And essentially I'm going to be repeating that down again. Okay, got a little bit of paint on the tip of my tool here. Get that off of there. Okay, let's get in with our 4. All right. I'm sure that's impossible to see. I want to be slightly careful. I don't want to end up touching the other side and wiping all the paint off. I'll just kind of slowly rotate this around. Let's see. Let me actually get this in a better position. There. Okay. So there's the 4. Let's get in with a 3.5. That should nestle right between the 2 dots below it. And again, we'll use a total of 3 tools to complete this line as well. And again, for right now, this one is a 3.5. There, let's go down to a 3. Then as we go down, seems pretty obvious, but then again, may just not have thought about it. But now that I'm making 2 dots, so for each 2 dots that you make with the tool is going to be 1 size down for the next row. So if this one is a 3, the next one I should be grabbing is a 2. Oops, that was a little small. There. And let's see, let's go a 2. And I'm going to need to have several in the middle here that are kind of the same size, so I don't actually want to walk this particular dot. So I'm going to try to just, actually let me flatten this up. It's probably easier to see that way now. I'm going to quickly wipe my tool off, and then I'm going to go straight back into the 2 again, and now I can get the walk dots in. And then if you had seen the thumbnail image coming in, you sort of know what this is going to look like. But we're going to be filling in the middle here once I get through with this with some more of the rose. It's nice cinder rose color. Oops. This one seems to come together so quickly. And then if I remember correctly, I think we should be okay with the 3. And let me get out my stylus again. Let me fix this one more time. I'm suddenly on a slant. There. It's a little better. I could potentially even go larger. Since the original piece, I mean, I do want to duplicate it, but at the same time, like, unless I do them exactly at the same time, if I do them in tandem, then they'll be truly identical. But if I don't, like this one, there'll be little itty bitty tiny differences. Okay, and I'm gonna go up to a 4. I know the original was a 3, but I'm gonna go ahead and go up to a 4 because I want to fill that space nicely. Okay, let's see. And for the first one, I'm gonna dip this tool as well. All right, let's see if I can not get myself in trouble here with the paint. Okay. Just like that. So these little swooshes are likely a little fatter, a little bit chunkier than the original because they are larger initial dot size, meaning also that I don't have to go so far up for the point. So they'll look a lot more like teardrops rather than like the long swooshes here. That's another one of the reasons that I'm using 2 tools with this instead of the one, because it does give you much chunkier, more controllable little swooshes, these teardrops. The other ones do tend to be really pretty, but more elongated. Might be blocking here, sorry. Oops. Right, so the main face there is done. Now I need to work on these sides here. So I really need to tilt it. And that's just for you to be able to see, not for me. All right, let's see, I think it's probably a 4. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna take a 4. Let me get some of my other tools out of the way here. They've been scooting closer and closer to me. Let me try something here real quick. I'm gonna try to move the camera just a bit. maybe. Let's see. Okay. That might be a little better anyways to see. Maybe, maybe not. A couple of times I've tried to hold these tea lights up while I paint, because I can see just fine. I have no problem with it. It's just that the overhead camera can only adjust so far before it's directly in front of my face, and so I won't be able to see anything. But I've tried to hold them in my hand and do them, and they just get way too heavy and cumbersome. And by the time I'm done, my wrist feels like it's going to fall off. So. All right, so that 4 is on there. Now, let's see. I do not remember at all what size I had used originally for the swoosh that I'm planning to put here on this side. I think it was a 5. Looks about a 5. So we'll try that. If I were to redo this completely, I would probably go with something a little smaller. I think I'm gonna have to hold it. Let's figure out how I want to do this here. Okay. Unfortunately, this is just gonna take me a little bit. I had a much longer swoosh the first time, and I don't even know how I managed that without it being way down here like this one is. This is so much slower holding it. Normally, as I'm sure you've seen, I like holding both of my tools in my hand at the same time. So having to put one down in lieu of the other one is going to be a little slower. Oops, and my hand slipped right there. Let's see if I can salvage that. I don't think I can. It's too wide. Okay, let's get that off. I don't have to get it all off. Just kind of on one side. There. Okay. At least I can kind of rest my hand on the table below. Yeah, if I ever do this one again, I'm just going to have to adjust it. Down for a moment. There we go. Now, there are essentially 2 more swooshes on this one. Let's see how I want to do this. These ones are going to be, like I said, much smaller than the original. So let's compensate here. Get my tool wiped off real quick. I think that's even going to be too large. Maybe not. I think I originally used like a 3 even, and that would be a nightmare right here. Let's try that. Okay. Make sure I'm not touching it on the other side. All right. as the paint dries fast, right? Oh. Now the tool that I'm using is actually just the nail art stylus. It's actually a 2.1 size, but I know that these ones are super awkward in their sizing, and most of the tools actually don't even have a size labeled on them, so you kind of just have to play with it a little bit. If you're even attempting to follow along with it, it's kind of awkward. Okay. And then I'm going to go back into the tool that I normally use just for swishes. And I'm going to use the 0.5, the sharp end that I actually usually pull them with, and do another one here. Let's see. After these ones are done, I actually only have one more thing to do to this. And that's make a tiny little crown. Ooh, whoops. Hold on. Apparently missed one. It was a little far away from the original swoosh. Kind of got a gap in there, but especially the stuff on the sides way down here at the bottom. I don't know how often they're going to be looked at or seen or noticed. Okay, last ones. Oh, my wrist is going to fall off. These things really aren't that heavy until you want to hold it. It's kind of crazy. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm going to give my wrist a rest real quick, and then we'll do the last couple of dots, and then we're all done. And the very last thing that I had on the original was right here, had an extra, actually 2 dots of gold. I don't think I'm going to go that far. Yeah, that's, well, you know what? Let's do a 4. Yeah, I'll do it a smaller one. Okay. Just going to drop a 4. There we go. All right, let me get my tool wiped off here. I don't want to lay that down completely. Never get it back up again. Okay, there we go. All right. So now I can see the sides better. All right. So the original one, let's see. The original one, these were much bigger. These ones here, they were actually this size, almost. I think I kind of like that though. I like the little bit of a more delicate touch on those. The other thing too that I'm not going to be doing at this point either is I had a gold drop right on top of this swoosh on the original, but I'm not going to do that. I think I've had enough of holding it. The only thing though that I am going to do is I did have a gold dot on these top ones, which I'm perfectly fine doing. These outer ones, I'm going to guess, yeah, let's do those at 4. I'm going to add a teeny tiny drop more of the gold in my palette just to make sure I have a nice good dip there. Okay. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to back up because now I do remember. This was not the regular gold. Let's fix that right away. That was rose gold. I forgot. I forgot. All right, let me hurry up and kind of get those on there and then we're done. All right, these kind of blend in, but it just gives it a teeny bit of structure, texture, structure. Yeah. So that was a 4, and then I think these ones 2.5, I'm going to presume. Yep. So the very last thing that I'm going to do on these to finish them off camera. So I'm going to let this dry. Once it's completely dry, probably tomorrow, I'm going to go back in with a very, 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 very damp, I say very damp. See, it is getting too late. It is my bedtime apparently. With a damp cloth, just tiny, tiny, tiny bit of water on it. And wipe all of these charcoal lines away. Let that dry again for maybe about an hour. And then I'm going to go back through and varnish it with just Duraclear, which is the gloss varnish. Give that probably 2 to 3 coats of that, and then make sure I've got something on the bottom of it, just to make sure that there's no issue with it scratching. All right. Okay. All right, we're done. Hopefully that was enjoyable. I certainly appreciate anyone that has stopped by. If you guys have made it this far, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe, give it a like, and of course, as always, if there is a pattern or a color combination that you would like to see on something in the future, drop it in the comments because I will be happy to do them in the future. I've got a ton of projects, tons of different things, and I'm always looking for help with designs and patterns and colors. So I'll be happy to take those, give you a shout out when those come up. All right, take care guys, have a fantastic evening. See you again next time. Bye-bye.